already started.
Luke, you're my father. Oh, that's the twist of all centuries. Spoilers, if you've never seen Empire.
Strikes back.
Luke is Vader's father.
Bam.
Bam.
Spoiler.
Okay, I do want to start this off with Vader saying, no, please no Book of Boba spoilers in the comments or anything. I have not seen the first episode yet. We do not have any kind of television system set up as we're still getting settled into the new house. So please no spoilers. I want to enjoy that show. Anyway, if you've seen it, I hope you enjoyed it.
I don't care. Anyway.
Wow.
I don't.
Okay, well then let's start off with that. Let's start out Star Wars stories here. So let's start with your Star Wars story. How did you get introduced to Star Wars?
I watched it on a tour bus.
And whose doing was that?
Probably yours.
That was my doing. Yes, it was. Not the environment to watch it on a tour bus, but I brought some...
Confession, I didn't actually watch the whole thing. I was busy doing other things.
Too busy for Star Wars on the tour bus. My heart is broken. Anyway, but yeah, it was my doing. I brought some movies on a tour because we sang in a choir together, and I brought the original Star Wars trilogy with me.
Thank you, Mandy. He appreciates it.
Thank you. But I brought those movies, and the person who's in charge of doing the movies saw that I had the this original Star Wars trilogy, and they're like, "We're not even going to vote. Like, this is just what's happening." Yeah. Everyone, because there were several people who hadn't seen Star Wars, and it was like, "Oh, this just has to happen." So that was me spreading the message of Star Wars and all that goodness. So you didn't like Star Wars?
I didn't care about it. No.
So how did
mainly because I think I might have seen some of I saw part of Star Wars in a Walmart while our car was getting fixed because we had a flat tire through a window. So it was like
that's rough Star Wars experience.
I was like, what is this movie? Anyway, it was Leia with the little Ewok and punching out the Anyway, that was what I saw, and I was like, wow, this is weird. Anyway. Sorry. But then I didn't care because I was like, this is an old movie and it's like, people who've watched it originally probably thought it was great, but I don't care. And then I saw some of the new ones, like little snippets of...
That'd be the sequel trilogy.
The sequel trilogy, and I was like, this is garbage. I'm not going to watch it.
Oh, no, the prequel you're saying.
Prequel.
So, yeah. Okay. No, but the sequel, then that was when I feel like you started getting into Star
Yes,
Wars.
But I told him I wasn't going to watch the
old ones.
The old ones.
No, so tell how you started liking Star Wars, I guess.
I married Steven.
You just had to?
Yeah.
No, but you actually...
No, okay, I enjoyed the old ones. I still am like, about the prequels just because...
I've got her seen 1 and 2, and she's seen part of 3.
Yeah, and it's like, it's okay, but it's still like rough. And Anakin's character is just really annoying. Anyway. And just the dialogue is a little bit rough. So, I enjoyed the originals more, and understanding I don't know, what it's, okay, when I first watched it, it was like, okay, this is nostalgia for people who grew up with this. But if they just sat down and watched it, it's not that great. But now I have to say, it is better, especially when talking about personalities, because that definitely got me more on board. So, any women who their husbands are really into Star Wars, and you're really into personality types, definitely a way of joining them together, especially in the new ones, because the 3 latest ones I really did enjoy, and a lot of people have let me know, no, they're horrible because they're not really Star Warsy and all that stuff. But we have things to say about that. So,
and I think this is a good segue into it, because what we found is that it seems like the really disparaging things about Star Wars, it's not so much about the writing. It's not so much about the directing. It's not so much about quality of films and stuff, because I know people who really, really love the prequels, and I can sit there and argue until I'm blue in the face about quality of those, like the dialogue and stuff, and saying like, no, we need Lawrence Kasdan back there, getting in the writing chair, and we need other assistant directors alongside Lucas to kind of fill in the gaps with things, but people love those movies. And I think there's a reason why people love those movies, and why for you, when you watch it, it kind of rubs. And I think that a lot of it has to do with personality types and kind of those entry points. And for you, like, you really resonated with the characters of the sequels, where there's a lot of people today are like, I just don't resonate with that at all. So it's just like these stark contrasts. And I think what Star Wars does so well is that it takes personalities and puts them into such a big epic saga and adventure of, you know, just ordinary personality types, but it takes those people, I'm not gonna say like heightens those personality types, but
it pulls
I think
out
it really
the
does,
real core issues.
Yeah, they do, and when we walk through, if you've had any experience with the Enneagram, you'll see that there are things that, you know, they're kind of their lows and their highs of what they go to, and what the stories end up doing with these characters is it really shows the lows and the highs well. I mean, good storytelling, you're going to put your characters into those intense situations, but with Star Wars, you know, like there is like the main hero, you know, in the original trilogy, you definitely, Luke is like your main hero, but you have people who are going on this adventure with him, and that kind of thing is rare to really have those mainline adventure characters like that. And then, you know, in the prequels, you really have Anakin is the main character in it, but you have Obi-Wan who's just as present there, and Padme who's just as present, and then in the sequels you have Rey as the main character. But then you have Finn, and you have Poe, and you have
all the original
Kylo Ren is really kind of, you have that villain character who then kind of becomes more of a main character aspect in that, and telling more of their story. Whereas, you know, Darth Vader, you don't have quite as much of the backstory being told for Vader during the originals, but it kind of makes it so that it puts those character types, those personality types, through those big stories together. And so I think that really people resonate with those groups of personalities and how they interact with each other.
So we'll get down to it.
But first, I just want to say my story, because you shared your Star Wars story. So
okay.
My Star Wars story, why I have always loved Star Wars, is that my youngest memories are of Star Wars. I went and saw, I think this was the first time that I saw Star Wars, was Return of the Jedi, when they were re-releasing the special editions, when they did it in theaters back in '97. That's my first memory of watching Star Wars, and that's my first memory. I think it was the first time I went to a movie theater too.
Okay, can I make the other statement in all this? Is that the reason Star Wars is so closely like tied to you is because it's a family memory, and because Star Wars is about family. How's that?
It is. Yeah.
See? There you go. Wrapped it all up in a nice bow.
So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to dive in. So, we're going to start this off. We've done kind of Enneagram examination of all the different characters, but because this is more personal to you and how you got into Star Wars, we're going to focus right now primarily on the sequel trilogy and address some of those, because that's just been kind of fun, the controversy there. And we've had so many conversations with people who are just like, I hate these movies because blah, blah, blah.
Like, they won't talk about them because they hate them so much. And you're like, wow, that's been intense, but I understand. I mean, I guess I understand. I don't know.
So, and it seems like the prequel trilogy did the same thing, but there's just been enough time on that the people who really genuinely like those films have kind of had that space and separation, that it's like, oh, it's okay if you like the prequels now. Whereas before it was like, no, you can't like those. Except for when they first came out and people loved Phantom Menace, and then they didn't. So, anyway.
Okay, so the first one.
I
don't think there was a lot of conflict, other than it was so similar to the original Star Wars, and that was the big thing. It's like, it's just a copycat, man. That was the big one. So
because they did like big space station, blah,
right.
But you know, they've done that throughout all of them, because if you watch, you know, behind the scenes, George Lucas is like, it's poetry, it all rhymes. We do the same story.
Right.
They did the same story.
They did the same story, but then Rian Johnson, I said it right. Rian Johnson changed everything with The Last Jedi, and everyone went crazy. So, and this is the part that everyone gets really intense. They're like, Rey should have taken Kylo Ren's hand. He should have taken it. And I was like,
she should have taken it.
Right, that's what people say. She should have taken it and made her into this villainous character who, like, has a dark side, but she really has no flaws and that kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever. I did not see that way at all, because, and this is talking about personality types, Rey's character, I'm pretty sure, is a 9-8. And the reason that I resonate with that is because that's me, which means they're the ones who sit there quietly. They desire peace in their soul because they have conflict in their souls. So they do everything they can to make everything around them peaceful. And so that's why she's not like Luke being like, oh, I really, really want to go out and like fight with my buddies and I'm missing out. I have FOMO. She's like,
I want to go to the Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
Right. That. As opposed to she's like, no, I'm just going to sit here for my parents who may never come back for me. And I'm not going to deal with the fact that they may not come back for me because I'm just going to trust they'll come back for me because that's easier than dealing with the conflict within. So, but in the second movie, she sees Kylo Ren, who you can talk about, but Kylo Ren's character, and she sees what he actually is. And so she's after that because a 9/8 is someone like Clint Eastwood. They're fine, they're chill, whatever. And then all of a sudden, if you push them too hard or you see something in someone else, you will beat the crap out of someone to make sure that person is okay. Or if you have this like, you can see what they need, you become that for them. And a 9 doesn't think that they have any value in themselves, especially a social 9. Instead, they think that they only have value in how they serve the group. So she gets to serve the group because she has powers, and her service is to go get Luke. But she herself has no value. It's her contribution to the group. And people don't often do a video on that. Like, that doesn't seem like a very awesome character, like heroine or hero. The only other one that we can think of as a 9, but as a 9/1, would be Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is one of those. She knows what she has to do, but she's not someone who's this big epic character, but she is like a classic, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, like, people say, like, there's no foibles in that character, that, oh, they're just perfect goody two-shoes and they do everything right.
No, that's not true.
But if you look at, like, if you know the story of Jane Eyre at all, definitely not a perfect character there. You know, she has massive issues of temper and defiance, that, you know, rightfully so when she's been justly wronged. But, like, there's a little dragon that comes out of her so much. And then it really is that internal conflict that doesn't come out quite as strongly
until the last movie, and then it's a little bit
so
like,
we get there. Yeah. So the conflict is more within the character, and so you don't see as much. So you don't see the surface things as that, like, with it. So, you know, for her, you know, in the first movie, in Force Awakens, she's, you know, she can't let go of the idea of finding her parents. She can't be detached from that when other people need her to be present and functioning and doing things. She's like, I can't do that. I got to go back because I got to get back to that, where, you know, the place of belonging back to my parents. And, you know, that gets ended up stripped away in episode 8 because she's kind of tasked with urgent stuff to, you know, go find Luke and whatnot. As you said, like, she doesn't have a place. She says, you know, where I'm nobody. I'm from nowhere. And, you know, Luke says, okay, Rey from nowhere. And so, but for her, it is that internal conflict. She's still trying to find her identity because she's going to continue to look good on the outside, function, serve, and help out the community. But really, her motives are really bad. Why she's doing it. And we see that because when she's tempted with the dark side, when she sees that the pit, the cave experience for her on Act 2, I'm such a nerd. I know all the names.
Anyway. She does not have the same response of Luke being like, yeah, I'm going to go kill it. Hers is, I want to understand and know, because her deep core thing is there's a lot of grief that she's
I'm gonna take this thing and I'm gonna get what I am really needing from it. So I'm just gonna claim it. And so I'm no fear of the dark side. I have no fear of this. But I see something here that this can give me answers. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna claim it because that's what I'm gonna do. And then, you know, when she ends up leaving to confront Kylo Ren, you know, she does call out Luke's character, and we'll get to Luke's character because I think that is something as well, that critique that people miss on the personality types, of saying it's against that character, but it is exactly fitting for that personality type, the response that he has. But in her responses, that again, she goes back into the unhealth for the 9, and I'm going to go fix the other people. Yes. She still didn't deal with the heart issue, and that's where the last movie, Rise of Skywalker, really gets at that heart issue.
Because she goes off after Ben, because she sees Ben, she wants to save him. Because she can save him, that's her goal. Like, I can't do anything for anyone, but he can, and he's our only hope. So I'm gonna go save him. And so when he confronts her, and he can see her too, and he says, "You're not, like, your parents left you," and she's like crying like, yeah, it's true. Like, I have nothing to hold on to. But instead of actually dealing with that, she goes and finds another family of the resistance is who needs me now. So I belong to them. So when he offers her his hand, that's not a real person. She would never take Kylo Ren's hand. She wanted to take Ben's hand, but she knew that wasn't Ben. And so she didn't take it. So that wasn't her conflict.
But Ben sees her too.
Yes.
And that, you know, as he says when he confronts her, you know, you're going to be disappointed in him as a father figure. Just as I was disappointed. You know, you tried to cling to Han, but he's dead.
But you see how
and
angry
you tried
she
to cling
gets.
to Luke, but he's going to let you down and disappoint you.
And how
So
angry she
he sees exactly what she is needing and what she's looking for, and that's why he's trying to offer it. But again, he's not being his authentic self in the form. We'll maybe this would be a good time to transfer over to him, and then we can get to finish up right. So Kylo Ren, or I should say Ben Solo, because Kylo Ren is really a persona that he's kind of adopted. He I think is a 4-wing 3 sexual type.
It's like Anne of Green Gables.
Yes. Well, but she's a social, so they're like cry. The social, like they put all their hurts and pains on the outside, and they just like they
show it for everyone to see.
All this stuff. The sexual instead goes into a rage mode. So when you see Kylo Ren, you know, responding in anger,
Elsa.
smashing everything to be
Elsa.
Well, no. Elsa's self-preservation.
Okay, never mind. I lied. It's close.
So I know a lot about that because I'm a 4-wing 5 self-preservation. So the Elsa character is one that I resonate with.
Bottle it down inside, deep down, so no one can find it. And then your wife is like, I know where it is. And you're like, how did you know? Sorry, that was a little dramatic.
Okay. Away from Frozen, this is Star Wars. I do enjoy Frozen. When you see those rage moments, that is the like epitome of the unhealthy sexual 4, that they just utterly destroy things. I think of the montage of him in Rise of Skywalker when he's on Mustafar and he's just rage killing everything in his path, and it's just like go go go, and he goes to Exegol and to the Emperor, and he's just like, why shouldn't I kill you right now? That is like the epitome of the sexual 4 when they're just like, I'm going to destroy everything in my path. So with this though, but I want to say it's kind of the persona that's adopted, because 4s do that a lot. That they will try on other personas and personalities to find something unique and something to show that they're different. And so for him, growing up in a house of Leia and Han, Leia is an 8 and Han is a 2. So you have this very strong tribal mentality. Your life is the rebellion and everything that the rebellion stands for, because Han at this point has fully adopted the rebellion as that helper too. And that fits more of his identity than the smuggler side, which is what the 2 would do in an unhealth position. And so this is really kind of the identity, and having that, Leia kind of wearing the pants, I would say, in a lot of senses, just being that strong 8 character. Like you stay with the family tribe of things and family expectations. And so when Ben Solo, we see kind of snippets of his background, it seems that he's got that conflict of the dark side. He's looking for other mentors. He's looking, where do I fit in the world, because I'm unique and different, and I gotta be that unique and different. You have someone like Snoke that is then grooming him, the Emperor, grooming him to fit that mold and pattern. He then tries to adopt the persona that he sees as more of his truer self and resonates with in his grandfather, Darth Vader, which again is another persona that's put on by Anakin Skywalker. And so he tries to adopt this persona of that being those things, that I can be unique and different, and I can shine this way, and he's really just envious of having loving attention and belonging from others in a place where he doesn't feel like he uniquely fits in. Whereas the grooming of the dark side is, you are unique, you are the one who is going to do things in that rule of one that the Sith have. Of you are the special one who's going to be my student, and I'm going to make you great and powerful. So that's kind of the thing there with that.
The temptation.
Yeah, that draws in the 4. And so people say, he's just whiny and emo, blah, blah, blah. I'll just say that kind of is what you should, the 4, when they get into their basement.
When they get into their basement, they decorate their basement. It's very, very beautifully dark. It's like, here's a gory picture over here, and here's a dark thought over here, and like they display it in their basement for themselves to be like, this is beautiful art. It's kind of like the Phantom.
Yeah,
Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, where it's like, what the heck are you doing? Like, get out of your basement. We're not going to decorate down here. But
it's like the reconstruction of his helmet. That's a great example.
Correct. It's like
before this was his failure and his low moments. His helmet crushed and let's just take off this ridiculous mask because Vader. Right. He's like, no, I'm better than Vader. I'm going to make this epic mask. Right. And I am the bad guy.
But the thing is,
I am the bad guy.
But here's the thing: the 4s are the romantics. So as much as they have this like beautiful basement, what they really want is they want to be seen as uniquely them. They don't want someone to just say, oh yeah, I know exactly who you are. You're like this. They want someone to actually stop and hear them and to see them for who they uniquely are.
And they want that companion to go alongside.
So when Ben asks Rey to join him, he's actually telling her, I need you to join with me. If you don't, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she's like, well, I obviously can't join you because you're crazy, but I would like to join you if you weren't crazy. Like,
you were a monster.
Like, you're just a bit off. But you see her, like, the two of them, they have very similar power, but you're realizing that the one who's more stubborn, 9s are extremely stubborn. Like, if you start pushing against a 9's just going to stand there and be like a solid rock that will not move. So that's why you have to try a different approach. Anyway.
So then what happens with Rey's character?
Okay, so you see Ben Solo and his uniqueness, and this is where I was like, in the second movie, I thought Rian Johnson did a great job presenting those two types of characters. Because you don't see a 4 and a 9 as the main characters often in movies. Usually you see a 6 or a 7.
Like Jane Eyre is the only example I can think of
a 9 as the heroine. So Rey is very unique that way, that she's that way again. I mean, another character like that. So in 9, the 9th movie, it's it's like showing the heart of the 9. When people are like, she has no faults or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, now you got to see it. Because here's the thing. A 9 is very good at being good on the outside. But on the inside, there's this great fear that someone will find out the darkness of your soul and actually try to see you. Or you have to see yourself. And if you see yourself, that's like, no. As you see when she's like, I'm afraid that I'm actually this big, huge monster because I probably am that really big, huge monster. And what am I going to do if I'm like, I don't want to believe that. So I'm not going to believe it. Instead of dealing with it and being like, okay, this is the actual crummy crap in my heart, like sin, and dealing with it. Instead, she's like, I'm just going to fight it. And that's exactly what I do sometimes too. It's like, no, I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to work as hard as I can to make that not true, as opposed to just dealing with it. So,
and I think that's a great scene then when, on the battle on Endor, when they're fighting in the ruins of the Death Star 2, like all the plays from the beginning, like Kylo Ren is in, I guess, the healthiest state of the Kylo persona when he goes there, because he really is trying to go there to win her.
Yes.
And he's still, a monster and horrible, but he's in his healthiest unhealthy state, I guess.
He's the most like Ben, because he's literally going there as Ben, but he doesn't realize it.
Right.
Because he's not fighting her the entire time. She's rage fighting
right.
her. Because she
pulls
her
out
creepy,
her lightsaber,
right.
and you have that kind of link back to Luke when he pulls his lightsaber first in Empire.
But wait, before that scene when he first picks up the hologram, whatever it is.
It's not a holocron. It's the Wayfinder. It
that
looks
thing,
like
the triangle thing. Anyway, when he picks it up and he's looking at it, and you see the rage inside of her, and be like, give it to me. Like, this is what I've come here for. I must have this so that I can go back and do the job I'm supposed to do, so I can destroy the Emperor and destroy this monster inside of me. Because she's been trying so hard this whole movie to have the Jedi speak to her and saying, be with me, be with me. And that is the great desire of the 9, is to belong in a community. And when you don't belong in a community, like when you move around a lot and you don't belong in a community, you really struggle with belonging. So when he takes that and he cracks in his hands, you see that she snaps. She can't handle it anymore, and she's after him to destroy him because he's exposing her heart.
Yeah. And so then he's like just constantly like picking at her in her identity of like this, like I see your potential in the dark side because I see your dark heart, and I still want you by my side. And so then
and she's like, never.
When it gets to the point,
yeah.
When it gets to the point of them, out there on that last peak, and Leia calls out in the Force to Ben, and he completely stops. And she has a moment where she could have stopped in that. She felt it too, but she takes the opportunity to kill that fear of what she could become.
Yep.
And so she murders Ben. She murders. And that's why I said in our preview video that I think of the heroes of Star Wars, even Vader, I don't think that there's as dark of a character in that level of, I guess, betrayal of that while he's a monster and he deserves to be justly punished for the things he does, which is why I think it's fitting that he dies in the end, giving up his life. The way that she does it, she takes it into her own hands, but it's not to try and save her friends. It's not to
bring justice.
Try and bring justice to him. It is strictly for the only motivation of, I am killing the thing that is exposing my darkness. And so
that was the struggle of that moment, because you're like, well, technically she just destroyed a monster, which is a good thing, but the reason she did it, it's like, why she did it.
Yeah, I think of the show, you haven't seen this, but the anime show Death Note, that's kind of a good example of that, of, given the power that you can use this thing to kill people, and it kind of starts out by experimenting with people who deserve death, but he does it in such a way that's totally self-serving and is defeating against justice and good and all that they're actually standing for and fighting for. In this case, that was so far from the light side, and that's why when Luke sees her on Octu, and sees her going for the darkness, and he says, you went straight for it. You didn't even hesitate, because that is the natural inkling of Rey's heart, is that darkness.
And if you're talking about Enneagram, because there's that triangle thing, the ones, there's the fear quadrant, which I believe that Anakin Skywalker is definitely in the fear quadrant, which is the 5, 6, and 7, and so is Luke. Luke is in the fear quadrant, which is why both of them are similar in how they respond. I mean, not the same, but they're both motivated by fear. That's what they're running from. And then the heart quadrant, which is the 2, 3, and 4, are motivated by, what was it? It's not fear. What is it? I'm totally spacing. Anyway. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, I did that wrong. Isn't fear yours? 4? No. Anyway. I just know that the 9 is the gut quadrant, which is 8, 9, and 1, and their big underlying thing is anger, and that's what the 8 just is angry all the time. I mean, they just look like they're angry all the time. The 9 doesn't get angry, and if they do get angry, it's like a volcano. And then the 1 is the one who shouldn't be angry, but has a lot of anger that they'll bubble, kind of. So for Rey, she just exposed all of that anger, Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why we had things to say. But what I find it was interesting is how they redeemed her character after she saves his life too by healing him. But you see that she failed, and she recognizes that she failed, so she's going to go do the thing that Luke did and run off and hide. And
that's when she realizes, when Leia reaches out to her and she realizes what has happened, and Leia giving up her life for her son.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, I completely and utterly failed.
Yes. And so she's like, well, now I don't belong because I just destroyed the person who I belonged to. So she leaves, just like, Ben didn't feel like he belonged. But what ends up happening is when she goes, Luke goes and shows her, no, actually, before you even were born, this was designed for you. And that's what oftentimes a 9 needs, and in actual life, it's in the Lord. reminding that your belonging comes from him and that he has these things to speak over you. But that you see that the shift where she's all of a sudden, okay, I'm doing this for the right reasons because I have a purpose. I actually have something to contribute, because before that time she was just doing it because, oh, everyone told her that's what she's supposed to do, but I don't really feel like I deserve, like I can do this. I'm feeling everyone that I'm not feeling the force the way I'm supposed to, and yada yada yada. And in the end, she needed someone else to help her as well to finally finish that final battle. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I want to wrap this up here in the next few minutes, so thank you for your time for staying on here. I want to just touch briefly on the other critique of the sequels, and we'll talk then about the original trilogy a little bit here in Luke's character. So Luke is the seven, and so the seven they want to be doing all the things.
FOMO.
FOMO is a huge thing. So you see him on Tatooine, and he's like, all of my friends are fighting for the rebellion. I gotta go do the thing. I'm still stuck here in this nowhere place. I gotta go be there. Whereas Rey is like totally content being in Nowhere Land because it's peaceful in Nowhere Land, and I'm just gonna wait for the people that I belong to come back, so then I have my belonging. Whereas Luke is like, I gotta be where all of my friends are and go do the things and fight the battles and be a hero and rah. That is Luke's character, which fits really well, and it makes for a really exciting story that has that energy and push, because you're trying to get off of Tatooine as he's trying to get off of Tatooine, because it's Tatooine and it's a desert and there's nothing there. Whereas like with Rey, you're like,
why do you want to
she likes to do her scavenging thing and she's content being here doing this stuff. Yay. It's just not quite the personality type in those is just like they're not quite as much there. And you see again the repeat of those with Anakin's character, who is the six.
Six
wing seven.
Yeah.
And him, his thing is that he's loyal, and he's gotta stick with the people that needs to care for, and for him it's his mom. And so the hardest struggle for him is, if I'm gonna go do this thing, and I gotta swear loyalty to something else and my mom, and this is what I need. So he doesn't care about Tatooine or the people there. It's his mom. If mommy could go with him to the Jedi Temple, things would have been hunky dory. But that, so those are the different tensions you have in kind of that poetic repeats that you see with things and the different response. But Luke, he's on those adventures for things here, and I was just going to kind of see my notes here on the seven. So, I think a really good point of when you see this is when he's on Dagobah with Yoda, and he's like, so we're wasting time. We got to find Yoda. And Yoda has this conversation with Obi-Wan, and he says to Obi-Wan, long have I watched this one, and all his life he's looked away to the stars. He was never focused on where he was, what he was doing, because that is the seven. They're trying to get onto that next adventure.
They're running away from feeling,
pain and those things they don't.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with pain, but it's in a different way. Like a 9 will actually process grief, and a 4 relishes grief. Sorry, I said that. But the 7 is like, I don't want to look at that because that means then I'll have to look at my failures, and I don't want to look at my failures because that's no fun. But if they do look at their failures, then they can go into this dark place where Luke eventually, goes in the last movies. That apparently was out of character, but it was totally not.
Yeah. So the thing is that Luke, he never really has the thing that pushes him over in the original trilogies into that side of unhealth, which is to go to the unhealth side of the 1. Whereas he actually just has this upstroke of continuing up towards his healthy place, which is the 5. And we see this really strong in Return of the Jedi of, it's set out from the very beginning, the plan of getting Han rescued. It seems like everything's going downhill for it. And, the droids end up being, slave gifts, and then Leia goes and tries to rescue, and then they end up getting Chewie, and Leia now is trapped, and Han is still trapped, and now they're going to get executed. But really it was all part of this grand plan that Luke had of, I'll give you opportunity to do these things, but really and truly, if all else fails, I'm going to come in and save the day because I'm a Jedi, and I got the plan, and we'll do the signal and all that fun stuff. So that's what the 5, the healthy side of the 5, that he's got it planned out. He knows what he's doing. He's thought through these things. He's going to be that good, strong leader in getting them to where they need to be. And again, same thing In when he goes to confront Vader, when he's finally convinced by Yoda that this is what he needs to do, he hatches out that plan of, I can't defeat Vader and the Emperor. Like, I know I'm just not strong enough to do it myself, so I have to get the heart of my father. If I can get the heart of my father, then I've won. And so it's kind of that health of the five. So what we don't see is that dip down into the one. You never ever see that in the original trilogy. You never see that really dark dip down for that personality type until you see the sequels. And this is where you're starting at, is that Luke, as he says, I became a legend. He's that successful. He's done all the things. It's like tickling all the sevenness. He went on all the great adventures and all of that. And now his last adventure is he's going to start a Jedi Academy. And, he's going to do all these great things. And he's going to rebuild the Jedi Order greater than it was. Except it all falls to pieces. Yeah. And it's his own fault because he's a bad teacher. He ends up threatening one of his students, and it crushes and crumbles the entire academy around his heels. And so when that depth of pain hits for him, he finally goes into that one space of unhealth, and that is that I can't reach that level of perfection. I didn't achieve it, so I'm just going to shut down. Everything's done. We're just going to pack up and leave and be shut down.
Because a one in unhealth, they have to do it perfectly because their whole goal is perfection. Like, we need to do the right thing. And if they're not doing the right thing, then they'll all of a sudden go into this panic, like, I can't do it all. Why isn't it working? Why aren't other people doing the right thing? Blah, blah, blah. And then they go into this, inability to do anything, which is why you see the difference. Like, that was the one part where he talks about seeing the darkness in Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Or in Ben. And that his immediate response is the dark side of the one, I'm going to kill him so that doesn't happen. Like, I'm just going to kill him. Whereas, that's the interesting part, is that if Rey had seen that, if she had been the one looking at him, that wouldn't have been her first response. She wouldn't have been like, oh, I'm going to kill him. It would have been like, let's deal with the heart issue of you, but not me. But you, I will. But Luke doesn't want to look at heart issues because it's this pain, and the 7 does not want to touch pain. So when he sees it, his immediate response is, let's kill the pain! Kill it! Because he's a 7-6, right?
Yeah.
And a 7-6 are the ones who really don't want to deal with pain. Yeah.
So, okay, wrap it up. We're going to talk about one last character. We're going to talk about Anakin, because I think it's kind of that reverse trend of Luke. Whereas you see, for Luke, it's all good, and then unhealthy until the end. And then he gets his moment of coming out of that unhealth. Whereas Anakin is the exact opposite. We see unhealth until the very end of Return of the Jedi, where he hits this moment of health. And this is the thing, people, they're like, I don't like the 6 in it because he's terrified of losing his loved ones. Again, back to the thing, it was he's always worried about his mom. Mm-hmm. And so, the thing that really tips him over the edge is when he finds out that his mom was killed, and he rage kills all the Tusken Raider camp.
Because 6s are extremely loyal, very, very loyal, and like, I know 6s, and they're like, if someone did something to my loved ones, I would shred and destroy the rest of them. And that is them going into an unhealthy space of the 3, and the 3 is the performer. 3 is the one who's achieving, the achiever, goes. But the negative side of it is that they go real dark.
Yeah,
as well.
And that's why, again, he's another perfect personality type to be groomed by the Emperor, because the Emperor just feeds into that fear and is like, I can help you get what you want. I can help protect your loved ones, that you can give them everlasting life so they won't have to die again. And so he's just constantly stroking that fear of the Jedi are going to be the ones that are destroying things, and they're not loyal to the thing that you have. You gave up your mom. Yes. To serve loyalty to the Galactic Republic, but they're not loyal to you. Yeah. But the Jedi aren't loyal to you.
And a 6, if you apologize to, this is something they talked about personalities. If you apologize to a 6, it means a lot to them, because 6s don't like to apologize, because that means that they've been unloyal. So if someone apologizes to a 6, it's a huge thing for them to say, oh, that I was like, you were wrong, and you admit it. That makes them trust you more. Whereas an 8 personality like Leia, you can hurt an 8 and they don't care. But if you betray an 8, you never come back. Which is why Leia, what she did for her son, was huge, showing the health that she was in.
Yep. And so with Anakin, he's always dipped into that 3. So even from the beginning, we know he's in that 3 because what's the first thing he does? He says, "I'm the best pod racer. I'm the best. Okay, I got 3. I got to be the best. And then I'm gonna be the best Jedi. I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna save everyone." And then when he gets to be on rank of master, but he's not on the council. I'm the best. I'm better than all of them, and I don't get this what I deserve. It's all that unhealth of the 3 that just pushes him down, pushes him down, pushes him down. And so when he loses the last thing that he loves, Padme, he's just stuck in that unhealth, and the only thing he has left is the Emperor and the dark side. That he's just kind of trapped in and stuck in that space. And so he has to be in that. He must obey in that, and there's no other thing that he can go into it. And so we see that in the very end with Return of the Jedi, when Luke is calling him out when they're on Endor before they go up to the Death Star too. You see him say that line, "I must obey my master." That fear is driving him. That fearful loyalty, the only thing that he has is familiar when everything else crumbled around him. That he is stuck in that space. But the healthy side of the 3 goes to
The healthy side of the 6.
I'm sorry, the 6 goes to the 9, and so he gets to that space,
which is the place of peace. That they're the ones who, when they're healthy, they will have the confidence and courage to be able to do a difficult thing in order to reach the actual ultimate peace. And so he's been in conflict his entire life as a 6 and being down in the 3. And so when he when he chucks the Emperor out and he saves his son and dies for his son, that is him doing the hard thing to be able to have ultimate peace.
Yeah.
So he finally sits in that place of peace when he says, "You saved me, thank you." Like he's now out of the fear. So that's our snippet of a few of the characters. There's more.
Yep.
So if you want to hear more of that, we'll do more in the future. But thank you so much for watching all this time. It's been really fun.
Let us know in the comments what you enjoyed, what you thought, what you learned from this, and maybe if you watch Star Wars again, you'll see things from a different perspective. And hope that you enjoy just the wide variety of it, because that's the lovely thing about Star Wars is there's so much there that I think anyone can find those stories to resonate with, and those pictures of broken family being put back together.
And all of the personalities there, just throwing it up there.
Yep.
Like they're all there. And it's interesting because when we've talked to a lot of friends, there's been a mixed reviews of like, I liked it, I didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. But for Stephen and I, we really appreciate it because we tend to be not the most common set of people, I guess, in terms of a 9 and a 4.
I don't find Luke Skywalker's character relatable.
No.
I love the character, but I just don't find it
But
relatable.
that was part of the reason for the old ones. I was like, they're all so superficial. Like, really superficial. Whereas a 4 and 9, they're pretty deep. I know they're like, oh my gosh, they're force melding or whatever. And you're like, no, actually, that's kind of true. Like, things get really intense and really deep. Like, our first conversations, like, when he asked me to date him, I asked him, like, super intense, nitty-gritty questions. And I was like, if you don't answer me honestly, you're out. So that's just me. But that's kind of the difference between the old movies and the new movies is that, yeah, like, a 2 and an 8 and a 6, they don't have to necessarily... 7, sorry. Don't have to necessarily go super deep. They can just be buddies, and they can work together great like that. But if you add 4s into the mix, you're going to have to go deeper. And if you add a 9, they're going to ask questions that make you feel really uncomfortable. I'm really good at that. So.
All right. Well, enjoy. It's been fun talking about Star Wars and Enneagram. If you want to learn more about it, you can check out more stuff. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to do more videos if you want to.
Yeah, what do you want to learn?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. So, and if you haven't seen Book of Boba, watch it, enjoy it. Don't tell me about it because I still don't have a system to watch it yet.
Okay.
Take care.
Have a good night.